being alone, sorry, disrespected and thought of as inadequate rather than alone and unloved. Vast majority, 65% will say that. Men, 75% will say, I can handle feeling alone and unloved. I cannot feel disrespected. You understand? So let me make it simpler. Ladies only. Forget what this says. You have two choices. Love or respect. Which one do you prefer? So if your preference is love versus respect, put your hand up. Honestly, I don't believe it. Okay, you have two choices. You either get love or you get respect. In other words, you have relationships or you have respect. That's it. Which one do you choose? You choose respect. I'm saying forget. No, I'm killing the question. Just very simple. Which would you prefer, getting love or getting respect? So A is love, B is respect. So which would you prefer? Who prefers love rather than respect? 25%. It matches this. Okay. Got a lot of hard workers. Okay, let's get into the question. Can we go back to the test survey? I think I'm going to disprove you because I don't think you understand the concept. But anyway, we'll see. Let's see what happens. Okay, can we go back to the... I don't want Slido anymore. I want to talk. Okay, let me start the talk and let them get sorted. Okay. So there's a lady called Bevel Conway, and she had a talk. She gave a talk, and then in the middle of this, when truth is uncertain, our brains resolve that uncertainty without our knowledge. So you can look at something, but you don't see what's really going on. It creates what is perceived or imagined as the most likely reality based on our prior experiences. This is the reality for most of us. We see somebody reacting, we judge, or we assume something's going on. It may not be. As women, most of you, you have a 50% better hit rate of understanding somebody's emotions on their face than men, because of the way your brain is designed. I'll talk about that later. And so what happens is you look, you can understand the emotion, but you make a presumption about the basis of that emotion. Do you understand? So you fill in the gaps. Men see your emotion and assume certain things. So they fill in the gaps too. Okay. Males and females are complementary. I'm not just talking physiologically, I'm talking mentally and emotionally and other ways. They both have equal value. And their abilities and character may differ based on biology, based on experience, upbringing, culture, ethics, and morals. All sorts of differences make us react to the world differently. So let's talk about the human brain. There is no such thing, whatever the media wants to tell you right now, there is no such thing as a completely male or female brain. Not possible. There are significant elements within the DNA which on average and in combination lead to predispositions. So there's genetics that come through your family line, for example. So your grandparents, your parents, yourself. There's a predisposition. It doesn't fix the outcome. Yeah? The brain function is affected by the environment, the cultural standards, and so on. And what I'm going to share with you is trying to show you that there is a whole bunch of stuff which is affecting you. But every brain is unique, and every brain's development from conception throughout their life is unique. Obviously, even twins, when you look at twins and you see how they react with the world, they come out differently. I mean, they're physiologically different, even though the same DNA. Now, the size of the brain has nothing to do with intelligence or emotional and mental capacity. A male brain is about 10% bigger than a female brain, but it has nothing to do with capability. Brain's functionality is affected by generational influences. What your grandparents did, what your parents did will affect you. I was sharing earlier on. When you were inside your mother's womb, and she was inside your grandmother's womb. So when your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, you were there because there's an egg that's in the ovaries, yeah? So what affects your grandmother when she's pregnant with your mother also affects you. And when your mother is pregnant with you, whatever she goes through affects you. So that's physiologically and psychologically affects you. So chromosomes, obviously XX, XY, male and female. Female is XX, XY is female. Something called copy number variation. So there's actually a replication that goes on inside the womb, and there are variations in there depending on the stresses, the hormones, and so on. Physical size obviously has an impact. Individual experiences, epigenetics, which is basically the expression of a gene. So you've got DNA, there's genes in there. What affects you? That's what you eat, what you do, what you think, experiences, and so on can affect the gene. And then plasticity, which is learning growth. So you didn't sit here learning how to put clothes on when you were a baby. Then you learn how to put clothes on. Then you learn how to walk. You learn how to read. You learn how to speak, learn how to sing, whatever. You learn how to play the violin or the piano or whatever. So things that you learn over a period of time. And then the density of the cells in the brain. Okay. At conception, the zygote, which is the basic cells that come from the husband and wife, is fundamentally the same structure for both males and females at the starting point. The chromosome is what determines the sex of the child, and it comes from the father. That Y chromosome comes from the father, if it's going to be a Y or it could be an X. So 99% of humans are biologically male or female. Sometimes around 6 to 8 weeks, what happens is this. Because of the chromosomes that are in the body, it triggers a reaction. So the chromosomes, whether it's XX or XY, so let's take an XY. What happens is the chromosomes there affect, I know this is getting a lot of science, but there's a reason behind this. The chromosomes will trigger a release of testosterone or dihydrotestosterone. So it's a male chemical, if you like. What that does, it floods the brain, it floods the body, so that the body then changes. So obviously you then get the male structure. But the starting point is the same, but that testosterone changes. Similarly, estrogen changes the female body as well. So that's the starting point. But here's what happens inside that. At 6 to 8 weeks, the brain is there. The heart is already going at 6 to 8 weeks. So the brain is less than the size of a pea. But what happens is, when that testosterone hits that brain, it changes the brain's structure. So you probably all know that the brain has 2 hemispheres, yes? But there's a connection between the 2 hemispheres. It's like a gateway, yeah? Goes backwards and forwards. Now what happens is the testosterone affects the connection between the 2 hemispheres. So in males, it grows slower than females. And I'll show you a picture later on, but it affects the way information is shared and how males and females differ in the way that they process information. Generally, females will bring in emotions more into decision-making than males, generally, okay. That X chromosome also has an impact of estrogen, so the female's the same thing. So the female brain is affected by that as well. But every cell in the body is also affected by those chromosomes right from the start. So this is the brain. So if you can see here what is gray and white matter, yeah? If you do a brain scan. Male brains have more, about 6.5 times more gray matter, and that's what they use to process data and control movement and emotions. Females have more networks between the two hemispheres, so it connects with their brain, between their brain processing centers, so they can switch topic faster than men. Yeah? This is not multitasking. Please don't go there. That's a rubbish talk. Everybody can multitask. If you can eat and talk at the same time, you know you can multitask. If you go down, we were in lot 10. If you go down to lot 10 and choose all those things, you know you can multitask. Okay, so females are better at multitasking in terms of information change, ability to change topic. And that happens in discussions. Do I want to go there? But males are better, basically males are better at task focus, females are better at collective focus. So generally, certain management might not like this, but anyway, if you have a topic or a function that has a clear objective and is time focused, it's better to have a male running it. But if you have something that's consensus operated or functional, in other words, you need to get everybody together, females are going to be better at doing it in general because they understand the impact. Males are less interested in collateral damage than females are, generally. You see this in families and so on. Now, so there's the corpus callosum, as I said, it's about 25% difference between males and females. So the other thing is an area called the caudate, which is in the brain. I think it's up there. So the caudate has an impact that controls language and emotions. So most of us know that females will tend to develop language skills faster than males. They talk earlier. They also are better generally at languages. Interesting thing, because the language centers are really roughly around here in the brain. If a female gets damaged here and a male gets damaged here in the same area, the female will recover language skills faster than males because the female's brain has an ability to adapt and learn faster with the brain cells. They can learn the language skills better. There's the other thing is the anterior cingulate cortex, which is in there. It's smaller in the female brain than in the male. Now, what that means is males don't think about taking risks as much. Yes? Have you seen this? If it comes to taking a risk, doing something, okay, I've got a son. He doesn't understand taking risks is dangerous. He will just go and do things. He's extremely intelligent, but he likes taking risks. His sister's far more cautious. So you see this, men are prepared to take risks more than women are generally. But men have something, there's a chemical called serotonin. Serotonin is a mood stabilizer. So males have an ability to control their emotions more than females, generally. Obviously, there's a spectrum here. But females are better at error detection, monitoring of conflict, and evaluation of potential risk and reward. Women tend to worry more than men. So women are more likely to have anxiety and depression than men, generally. So I talk about error detection. So let me just take you into a scenario. Let's say we're going out to dinner. and I've got my suit on, I've got my tie, I'm looking really good. I look at myself, think, I look good. So I go out, and my wife will come up and go, okay. Has that ever happened? Females can pick up errors way better than men in detail. It gets more interesting as we start to look at eyes. And the hippocampus. So, ladies, do you think that men have bad memories? There's a few no's, there's a lot of yes. Okay, there's a few no's on this side, there's a lot of yeses on this side. Okay, so reality check. There's an area at the back of the brain called the hippocampus. It's sort of in the back, it's linked to the amygdala, which is where the processing goes through. Males, they're smaller, so their memory are lower when given too much detail. So if you give a man too much detail, he's not going to remember. So you give a guy 3 things to do at home, he's going to do one, and then maybe the second, third one he's going to forget. Some of you are agreeing with me. Okay, this is good. Now, women's memory, because of the hippocampus and the way it's connected to the frontal cortex, they're better, especially for emotionally charged events. So they will remember where they got angry much faster than men. But they will not remember what they said to the man which got him angry, which made her upset. So if your male in your life and your female in your life gets upset, start to think about what was said before the anger took place. Females generally take longer to get angrier than men. They suppress it. Men will go much quicker. But females, once they're angry, stay angry longer. Okay, you're laughing because you agree. Okay. Memories. So this is what the memory cells look like. Mostly this is like hundreds of thousands times. Okay, so the stronger the emotions aroused, the greater the effect on memory. Because you remember, it floods your body and your brain with emotions. And strong emotions can impair memory for less emotional events and information. So here's what happens typically. So a man does something stupid. He says something to you or you get upset or whatever. You forget all the good stuff he's done. Agree? No, I'm talking to the guys here. So there's some very... So what happens is this. So ladies, sometimes you need to remember the good things he's done because he's actually done some good things in the past. It may be your brother, your father, or whatever. If you want to get your... Okay. Culture makes an impact, obviously. So if you come from a Western like I do, my relationship with my father is different from what it would be here. So a lot of Asian fathers are much more distant. And the mothers say, respect your father, this, that, and the other. Getting connection with your father as a female, you have huge advantages because he's naturally more protective of you than he is of the son, your brother or whatever. So use that to your advantage. But you have to show him respect. I'll talk about that in a bit. So males are more likely to accurately remember unpleasant emotions. So even in a marriage, what typically happens is females want the relationship to be better, males want the relationship to be less worse. Do you understand what I just said? I don't want to get worse. What do I do to make it not get worse? The female said, no, let's see how I can improve it. So the guys have to say, okay, how do I do that? But they have to have a conversation. Talk about eyes. So remember what I was talking about, the brain being flooded with emotions, flooded with hormones, sorry. When those chemicals hit the brain, obviously the eyes get affected too as well because they're part of the process. So what happens is the eyes are affected. So there's an area at the back. Get this right. Okay, so the back here, you have this. So you have ganglion photoreceptors. There is a color receptors here, yeah? So you have those color receptors. Now, in a female, you're going to love this. It's an excuse to go shopping. You like that idea? Okay, so what happens is this. At the back of your eyes, you have more cones and receptors than males. Those cones and receptors enable you to see color differences. So can I ask you to stand up? Yeah, long, yes, don't you, the red. Red, you, yes, just, okay, stand. So could you stand up as well? Okay, so let me ask you, gentlemen, is it the same color? Okay, ladies, is that the same color? Case proven, thank you, sit down. Because guys don't see the nuances that females do. So they go out shopping. I had to learn this the hard way. But darling, you've got 4 red shirts already. But this color's different, the texture's different, the material construction, the short, the long. But I need it to match this color. I've got this handbag and the rest of it. Seriously? But that's the reality as a female. You see nuances in colors that guys don't see. Now, it helps to help them. Now, the benefit of that is this. If you're making a home, I'm going to generalize here, and it's going to sound sexist. It's not intended to be, but it's a reality. A guy in general will be, and again, notwithstanding you're in construction, so I understand there's a difference there. But generally, guys are better at building a home, physically. I'm talking about the physical, the structure. But females are much better at making a home because they understand colors and textures and how things fit together naturally better than men. Now, some men are very good. You see fashion designers. But generally, females are better at colors and textures. Yeah? Ladies, do you agree with me? Yeah. See? Okay. But the males are better at able to discern fine details and orientation because of their M cells. So if you're looking at defining lines, where things are, black and white, males are better at that because they can see edges which the females don't see in the same degree. Now, they're also better at, there's a part of the brain which affects spatial awareness. Spatial awareness is what's going on in the room. So typically the analogy that's given is this. So if you go into a cocktail party, lots of people there, the men read the room, the women read the people. So what's happening is she's seeing body language, she's seeing relationships, she's seeing stuff which the men is not seeing. The men know where the exit is, where the drinks are, where the person that they want to talk to is. True? Okay. So the females tend to focus on the eyes and the faces longer to determine the person's feelings. So here's what happens. And it's a problem with the eyes and the way the brain works. I mean, okay, I didn't create the eyes, so I can't talk about that, but never mind. But what happens is this. When a female looks in general, because of their ability to be intuitive, better than men, to read the faces, a female's ability to read the face correctly and define the emotion correctly is about twice as good as men. So a female can look at a man and she thinks she knows the emotion. Here's the problem. If a man is struggling with a problem, the brain shuts his facial muscles down. So you look at the man and you think he's grumpy. He's not, he's thinking. I had a husband and wife, friend of ours, and what happened was this. So they're singing. So when the wife's singing, she's happy, she's joyful. When the husband's singing, his face doesn't show any emotion. She's going, why is he like that? I said, because of the brain. Why is his brain that way? I didn't create his brain. But the reality is when a man is thinking hard about a subject, his brain works and his brain goes looking for solutions and analyzing. And then he wants to share it with you. So men are going to pick up on fast-moving objects. So here's what happens. So you're going out to dinner with your spouse or girlfriend or friend, even your sister, whatever. A man, let's say you're just opposite, just the two of you. A man will naturally pick up movement. So let's say it's boyfriend, girlfriend, for example, or husband, wife, it doesn't matter. The husband or the boyfriend is looking at her, and then he sees somebody walk in, a woman that walks in. Now, understand, women, because of clothing, your hair moves, your dress moves, your whatever, he's going to pick up that movement. He can't not look. So don't criticize him for looking. Now, if he spends 10 seconds tracking, then you can tell him off. Because his natural instinct is to protect. That's how he's designed. So if you criticize his desire to protect, then you're criticizing who he is inside. Yeah? Okay. So the other thing is depth of focus. So the other thing is this in terms of eyesight and light and dark. What happens is this. So let's say, and I did this in Indonesia, because in Indonesia, the people there can't afford cars, they have motorbikes, a lot of the ones that we were talking to at this college. And what happened was I said to the guys, I said, how many of you have motorbikes? A lot of them put their hands up. How many of you take your sisters or your mums, whatever, with you on the bike to transport them? A lot of them put their hands up. Or your girlfriends. So you say, yeah, fine. So I said, okay, when you're on your motorbike and you're driving home, does your girlfriend or your mother or your sister say, slow down, please? Even though you're going at the speed limit. Virtually all of them said, yeah. Here's the reason. Females' eyesight, the pupils, are 15% bigger, roughly 15% bigger. It means that at nighttime, you have naturally better eyesight. However, your ability to judge distance and spatial awareness is not as good as the men. So they drive, even at the speed limit, they drive at the max because they can see the curves in the road better than you can. You can see the light and dark, but you get nervous because you're not in control. My wife will tell you that. But I can drive at the speed limit, but be told to slow down because you're not seeing the same things they do. So I said to these guys, it's like 100 guys and 40-odd ladies. And I said to the guys, I said, do you love your girlfriend or sister or whatever? Yeah, of course. Well, if you love them, why don't you slow down for them? Okay, color blindness. Because of all those P cells, M cells, and the rest of it, males, and this is racial differences. There are significant racial differences. But up to 8% of males are colorblind to a certain extent. Females, it's only up to 0.5%. So even if you discern a color difference, they can't see it. 8% of men. You think about that. Okay, let's talk about hearing. Oops. Hearing. Okay. This is a study that was done by a guy who did brain scans where the person was being read a book to. How many people know the Tom Cruise film, The Firm? Does anybody know it? It's about a lawyer. Okay. Anyway, he's been read this book, and this is what lit up. So for the males, one side of the brain lights up most of the time. For females, both sides of the brain lights up. Because females are not just processing the information, they're processing how it feels. So when you're listening to somebody, even in a work situation, you're not just thinking, can I process this information? How does it make me feel? So guys, if you're trying to help them understand, take that into account, that they're also feeling and hearing. Now, the ear has some interesting things. So males can discern about 3 different vocal tones, and they have a deeper range generally. Females can discern 5 vocal tones, and they're more sensitive to changes. So this is what happens. So you're having a discussion, and the man goes something like this. Okay, just wait for a minute. You need to understand this. The female will hear that the man has raised his voice. Okay, there's smiling going on already. The man didn't raise his voice, he changed his tone because it's coming from the diaphragm. So what the female hears is, you're raising your voice to me, you must be angry. The man is saying, no, I'm trying to explain things to you in a simple manner. You're assuming that. Now, next time somebody does that to you, just go, okay, that's a male voice, not a female voice. Females, you see it with children, they raise the voices. Oh, it's so cute. Yeah? That's what happens naturally. Or when they're trying to make a point, the voice goes up, it doesn't go down. Males, it goes down. So, males have a really interesting ability. They can block out what is called white noise. So if you're going in and you're trying to get your boyfriend, your husband, whatever, to connect, and you start talking before you get there, or you talk when you're going away, they will not hear you. They can block out white noise because they're hunters. So what they do is they cannot hear the same tone all the way. You have to do this. Take advantage of your female natural voice. Now, if you want to get the guy's attention, what you do is you walk in front of him. If you just talk to him, he ain't going to listen. You're wasting your time or wasting your breath. If you want the guy's attention, you have to connect with him. That means showing your face. Then he will listen. Now, don't scream at him, you're not listening, okay? He is actually not listening. Okay, let's take this further. Okay, let me ask a question to the men, so just bear with me. Men, gentlemen, can you think of nothing sometimes? You're watching a football match, you don't engage, just brain. Yes? Yes? Okay, ladies, can you think of nothing? See, that's the problem. You don't know how to relax. And this is the reality, because the brain's firing backwards and forwards all the time, you can't relax. So here's what happens. From now on, you put an embargo in your relationships. Anything past 10 o'clock, no arguments. 10 o'clock, yes? Okay. Sorry? No discussion of really sensitive topics. Here's what happens. There's a chemical called cortisol. So when you get angry or when you get upset or when there's a stress thing, cortisol gets released from the adrenal glands, which are down here. They go to a fight or flight response. This is pretty standard. Everybody knows this one. I think most people know. What happens is this. So as a husband and wife, for example, you're having an argument, you have a relationship issue and so forth, and at night, what happens? You then go to bed. Now, the husband may say, look, I'm really sorry for what I said. You know, I know you felt bad. You know, I'm really sorry. Now, most men don't do this, but anyway, fine. But I'm really sorry, darling. I'm sorry what I said. You know, please forgive me, you know, something like that. So that's the correct thing to do. Most men don't do it, but that's okay. The reality is this. Even if they did that, and you accept the apology, and you say, look, it's okay, thank you, you know, it's very nice of you, whatever. Here's what happens. The guy, dealt with that. The woman, I know I forgave him, but why did he say that? Why is it upsetting? What's really working on him right now? I really need to understand this. I don't understand, because he's really thinking about this, and I know he's stressed with that, and my mother's this and this one. This is what's going on in a woman's head. You guys don't understand this. They will spend the next 1 to 3 hours making this scenario in their head. They're trying to get to sleep. They can't. So, cortisol in a man will dissolve with 1 hour. Females, anybody want to take a guess? You already know. Okay, 3 to 12 hours. So it means that your brain cannot rest for 3 to 12 unless you have something called oxytocin. Oxytocin is a relationship chemical. So Gentlemen, if you want a happy marriage, relationship, whatever, you have to work on building that relationship. Even if you've forgotten, you say something like this: I'm so glad you're my girlfriend. I'm so glad you're my wife. I really appreciate what you do for us. You give them compliments, and it'll only take about 3 or 4 minutes. What happens is the oxytocin kicks in. She then feels all warm and fuzzy. She gets to sleep, you get to sleep. If you do not, the following morning, this is the discussion. How are you, darling? Fine. You okay? Fine. Uh-oh. Do you understand? So you have to educate your man how to make you feel comfortable. Now, in a work situation, that's going to be difficult. But men, you have to understand, and those are online as well, you have to understand these things. Okay. Oops, wrong button. Okay, smell. Female brains have, on average, 43% more cells and 50% more neurons in their smell receptors. 50%. That's why the perfume industry is ridiculous. I'll give you an example. So I used to play rugby. And this is when smoking was allowed, okay, in our club. So I come back, I've had a shower, I've cleaned myself, I've done all the right things. Come in. She says, you've been smoking. I go, what? No. Now, try and give you a reference point. So, okay, so you've got the red thing there, okay? So this is the distance. My wife can smell me from that distance. I haven't actually walked into the room. Females' noses are 50% better. Why? I propose to you design. If a child is sick, you can pick up that smell way better than a male can. So for me, my wife will go, something wrong with the child. Son, boy, girl, whatever. Me? Oh, yeah. So there's a test that was done. So this is an example. This is in Manel chemical sensing. So they basically did a research. And what they did was they got synthetic sweat, smelly sweat, 32 samples. What they did was they gave each one of them a different perfume or something like that, cologne, to take away the smell. Let me ask you a question. I'll tell you the first answer. I won't tell you the second yet. So when the men did the test, out of the 32, the men could not smell 19 of the sweats because of the fragrances. Do you understand? So the fragrance basically masked it. Take a guess how many the female could still detect. Sorry? All of them. Not quite. They, 2. Females' noses are extremely sensitive. So you need to take that into account. So when you food. So I watched my wife going shopping. It's a fruit. No. Okay. So you know intuitively. Okay. So I want to give a couple of examples here. Now, we're actually shutting at 1 at this, like in 5 minutes, is that correct? Okay. Sorry, 1:30, correct? Okay. So I just want to talk about this. As I said earlier on, generally men are less concerned with collateral damage. Males are better at loop that are time sensitive, females are better at group that are consensus. So here's an example. I keep going the wrong way. A conversation. You go to coffee shops, whatever it is. Females will generally talk face to face because they're picking up the emotions, the body language. The men will typically talk at an angle. They won't look at each other in the same way. because they're not looking for the same issues. They're looking at confirming each other. So when you're looking at facial expressions, especially micro expressions, like what I said earlier on about ability to discern emotions, females are twice as accurate as males to correctly interpret the emotion. You may not understand what the emotion's for, but you understand the emotion. Accurately identifying doesn't mean you understand the reason. Okay. When females process emotional issues, combination of estrogen and oxytocin switches on a facial system. Yeah? Remember what I said earlier? And it magnifies and mirrors. So you sit there, and I love going to Starbucks. It's not just the coffee. I like watching people. So I watch 4 ladies talking to each other, and they're all, The facial expressions tell you what's going on. You don't actually need to listen. You just have fun watching. Men, it's like, Sometimes a smile. But there's a significant difference there. So this is the issue that you need to take into account. There's a guy called Morabian that did a study a while ago, and he gets misquoted a lot. When words and non-verbal messages conflict, people tend to believe the non-verbal. Now what that means is the facial expression, the body language. Are you happy? Yes, I'm really happy. You know the person's not really happy. Now females, you have an ability to discern that. So in meetings, you can change the mood by discerning the emotion better than men. Now, men tend to be more assertive, so you have to wait for your moment, because otherwise you feel overridden. Management, shut your eyes for a minute. Question, have you ever been in a business meeting, ladies, and felt that the males are not listening? Anybody want to answer? Nobody wants to answer. Dangerous. Okay, fine. See, the thing is this. Guys, you have to give the ladies time because they have ideas. They have concepts which you don't envisage because it's not in your brain pattern. Now, ladies, the same thing. You have to be prepared to share those ideas because if you don't, you feel rejected, you feel misunderstood, you feel not listened to. If you don't share, then the company gets affected too. Okay, last one. Okay, this is one of my favorite ones. So let me tell you, just generally, males tend to be literal in their speech. You notice you ask a man a question, he gives you an answer. He doesn't come up, oh, well, it'd be nice if you could do this, nice to do that, whatever. It's not nuanced, it's direct. They mean what they say. So don't get confused. They want you to do the same. Now, the problem is females are much more polite, generally. They nuance things. Males presume that you mean what you say. Females are more nuanced. They frequently ask questions to indicate what they would like in a relationship. Okay, so here's an example. So imagine you're driving from KL down to Singapore. You're with your husband or boyfriend or whatever. Halfway down, you ask the guy a question. Would you like a coffee, or would you like to stop for a coffee? The guy's response is typically, I'm fine, we'll carry on. Well, because we got a deadline to get to Singapore in time. And the tank's full, so it's not a problem. At which point, the females go silent. The guys are looking a bit confused. What the ladies, this is for the guys. Okay, I'll come over here. What the ladies are actually saying is they would like a coffee. They would like to go to the toilet. They would like you to stop so that they can take a break. They would like you to have a chat with them because the relationship is more important than the journey. True or not? I've just saved you years of problems. But the thing is, a guy expects a literal answer. So we were doing counseling with somebody, and this lady comes in and says, I just tell my husband what I want. I said, please, can you go and share that? Now, the issue is this. Females will tend to test relationships. They want to feel wanted. There's an insecurity to a lot of females. It's not they're insecure in the brain, they're insecure in the heart. They want to feel wanted. They don't want to feel rejected. For a man to feel rejected is not a problem in comparison. For a female to feel rejected, it hurts more because of the emotions and everything else. Females tend to test a relationship to see if the person intuitively understands. So they will use nuanced speech. The problem is men don't understand nuanced speech. Are you unhappy? No, I'm great. Okay, fine. Just trust the guy. If he wants to tell you something. One other thing, and I've got one final comment. One other thing. If you have a man in your life and you criticize him, you say, oh, I wish he would share. I wish he would be more open, more expressive, share his emotions, his fears and concerns. Guys don't want to appear weak. We don't. So when you tell us to share, so we do. So here's an example. This is a bit of a weird example, but so there was a lady in our office. This is a long time ago when I was in the UK. She dressed inappropriately. So I told my wife, this is what happened. She went, silly woman. Now, this woman came on to me. This is a long time ago. This is 40 years ago. But Teresa's not concerned about that. We're only boyfriend-girlfriend at that stage. She doesn't care because she knows who I am and she knows my loyalty to her and so forth. But if she had said something like, why do you look at her? Why do you look? What are you thinking? You want to have a relationship with her? You want to break up? Those sort of things are destructive in the extreme. Do not try your man for that. Do not presume anything. Ask. But ask politely. Because if you don't, you can ruin the relationship very fast. Don't test the relationship. Encourage and improve the relationship. Final point. Do not attribute to not caring or bad intentions that which is a result of genuine lack of knowledge. Males and females, hopefully you've got a better understanding of each other. I've got a full talk on Saturday, the whole day, which you're still welcome to. The problem is males and females don't understand each other because their brains are different. Their culture is different. The upbringing is different. If you don't understand somebody, do not criticize them for lack of knowledge because they don't understand you. Try to understand them more, then you've got a better understanding of having a better relationship. I've got lots more, but I can't. Amir.
Thank you, Gareth, for gracing us with your insightful sharing.
Oh, yeah. No, she doesn't want to. She's scared.
So, do you open the floor for Q&A? So, let us know if you have Q&A questions to ask Gareth.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, was there a good talk for everyone to start off? All right, so this is our first Lunch and Learn series for this year, and we were blessed enough for Dr. Sumin to introduce us to Gareth. They're personal friends, and yeah, Gareth is actually here for his session in JW Marriott on Saturday, and he was gracious enough to make an appearance for us for free, to give us some insights to the YTL family. So if you have any questions, please let us know. I'm sure there are some burning questions inside that you're shy. Let us know now before, or else he will be charging us. Okay, and for those guys who are joining us online, we've already sent a link or the Q&A box. You can ask from the Q&A box and we will verbalize it to Gareth here. In the meantime, anyone at the floor?
To clarify the Saturday one.
Aha.
I
Ah.
We wanted to put a fee on it so that people are serious about it, you know. And then whatever the collection is, we are going to give it to people in need, because. So it's not too late. If you don't have the means, I can sponsor you. Okay, those were still.
So this is a preview. There's going to be more discussion points that Gareth will be presenting. So you've got this QR code on the screen right now. Yeah, and that's for our feedback. In the event you have any, concerns, or you want to give us even your recognition, or you're happy, satisfied, feel free to give us your feedback here. Other than that, Louis, I'm seeing that you've got a question. Okay, from the guys.
Hi, Gareth. Yeah, I'm Luis. It's a question. It's something that caught my attention. You said at the beginning, you said that you were expecting like 25, 65, but we are 95, 5, something like that. But in the building, it's not like that, sure, right? So why you think it's really like that, no? You think we don't really care when we see that thing that says that understand male and female? You think that people, male, normally don't care, really? Or why is that, no? Why we're so just 5% here?
I hate to say it, you just answered your own question. Generally, when it's about relationships, males think it's all gooey stuff. They don't, you see, okay, let me go back to explain. As I said, we're in counseling. So we get a lot of male-female marriages and so on. I wanted to understand why there are differences. So there are books by a guy called John Gray, for example, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, the worldwide bestseller. There's loads of others, but they focus on the relationship, not the biology. So I did my research on the biology rather than the relationships. Men and women don't understand what I just showed. But when you start to use the word relationship, females go, thank you. Males go, no, thank you. Because males don't want to appear weak. We don't want to give the feeling that we don't know what we're doing. Actually, we don't. But the reality is we don't want to show that to others, so we don't come to things. A lot of organizations, you get far more females. Where it's a relationship-based organization, you will get far more females because they want, remember what I said at the beginning, men want less worse relationships, females want better relationships. So what do? They come to talks like this because they want to know how to improve their relationship. Men just don't want to do it because here's what happens. I go back to the example I gave earlier on. Let's take counseling, for example. So when a husband and wife come in and it's a counselor, if they do not understand how the man feels and they identify with the female because she's crying, because she's emotional, whatever, the guy is... What happens is she will nuance the speech to say that the man is not good. I've seen this. We've had people come to us that have said they don't want to go to a counselor because they think the counselor is going to be on my wife's side. So when you deal with relationship stuff, females will want to improve. The men just don't want to have a problem. They don't want to be told, I'm generalizing here, which is why you see it. And I'm saddened by it because I'm talking science here. I'm not talking relationship. The relationship started coming later on. But the men don't want to understand the science behind it. And that to me is sad. But the reality is from experience, this is what I see. So when I saw 95%, 5%, I was honestly surprised. But it's fear of being considered less than a man. I just do what I need to do. So the man's role in society is provide, protect, take care of my family. That's my role. Work hard. A lot of men will internalize. This is the other thing, ladies, you need to understand. I know I'm drifting outside the question, but I think I've answered the question to a certain extent. What men will do is this. They will internalize their pain. They will not tell you the struggles they have. They will just suck it up and get on with it. But it will come out in their words sometimes. Because they struggle, they don't want to admit that they're struggling. Because if they show you the person they're supposed to care for that they're struggling, they're weak, they think it's going to hurt you. Do you understand what I'm saying? In other words, the guy says, I don't want to tell my wife that I'm struggling because I don't want her to worry. She's got enough concerns. I don't want to add to her. So I go and talk with my friends, or I suck it up and deal with it. That's what guys do. Now, ladies, you want us to share. If we share, do not criticize, empathize. Well, that's really hard. When you do that, they're more likely to share. Do you understand? Whether it's, okay, give you a silly example, but it goes to the point. Generally, go back to what I said about eyes and the ability for women to build a home, not a house. And I know you're in construction, so you can do both. Okay, fine. But the reality is this. Females are much better at colors and textures and so on. If a guy comes along, your husband or your boyfriend, whatever, wants to clean up, he wants to hoover the place, be thankful. Because most men don't want to touch it. There's cultural sensitivities and so on. But the reality is this. If they do it, but it's not done your way, say thank you, then wait for them to go and then fix it the way you want it. Or don't ask them. Because if you ask them to do something and then you criticize them for doing it not your way, they don't want to do it again. And then you'll have to move mountains to get them to do it again. Oh, I didn't want that brand, I wanted that brand. Well, tell them. I thank the Lord, well, okay. I'm thankful for mobile phones. You know why? When I go shopping, I bring my phone. I will come to, I say, which brand do you want? I take the phone out, I call her on the video, which one do you want? I don't make a mistake that way. We don't want to make mistakes because we get thought of as lesser. And if you, who are the most important person in our life, criticize us, why would we want to tell you anything in the future? Do you understand what I just said? So, summary. Don't tell the people on Saturday yet. If you want a man to do something, show him respect. That doesn't mean I've done your laundry, I've done your cleaning, I've cooked your dinner and the rest of it. That is not respect. That is sharing duties. Okay, fine. Showing a man respect is this. He's struggling with something. And you know he's struggling. But he carried through. This is what you say to him. I saw you struggling with this thing. And I know it was hard for you. But I really respect you for how you kept going. Even though I know people were saying unpleasant things or saying things behind your back, you carried through. I really respect you for that. You say that to a man, I guarantee you he's going to open up to you. Flip side for the ladies. You're going to like this one. So what you do is this. I really value our relationship. You're the most important woman in my life. Aww. See? It's that simple. So your mother, you say, Mom, what you sacrificed for me growing up, I really appreciate it. I don't think I could be what I am today because of your, other than because of your sacrifice. Oh! If you're married, I'm so glad you're my wife. You really are that important to me. I couldn't imagine my life without anybody else.
Turn that on, put it on recorders. Show it back to, or let your husbands hear.
Do you understand how simple that is? But you have to track. You sit there, you remember things, you write them down in a notebook or on a computer or whatever you want to do. And then when it comes to the point where you see your man or your woman, the lady in your life, whatever, is struggling, you bring that up. And they go, wow, somebody cares. It changes their life and changes your relationship. It really is that simple. Okay, my final one on this one. I keep getting final. So I was sharing earlier on. So we had a lady in my office, and she's a PhD, husband's a PhD, he's a professor at university, she's working. And what happens is this. He'd had an affair. She was probably going to have one, the way it was going. I said to her, you don't understand how to respect your man. She said, what do you mean? So I gave her exactly what I just shared with you. I said, what else you got to lose? Just try it. So she said, okay, fine. 2 weeks later, she calls me up and she said, Gareth, I need to tell you something. I said, what? She said, my husband turned around to me and said, something's changed in our relationship. I don't know what it is. She said, is it good or bad? No, it's good, but I don't know what it is. Are you doing something different? No. 2 years later, driving. The husband stops at the traffic light, turned around and said, I'm so in love with you. You mean more to me than anybody. She's like, woo! But he had tears in his eyes because he realized the emotional content that was there. Then they want him to have a kid. You can change relationships by applying these simple rules, but just apply them consciously. Don't tell them what you're doing. Otherwise, they'll work out it's a sneaky attack. Okay, back to you. Sorry.
And I can testify that actually we had a chat before this talk to understand his flow for today, and he was explaining to us the flow of the slides. And I was just saying to him, my husband should hear you speak, because I was struggling with something that we had to decide on, and my husband was just going the opposite way. So I tried his method, and voila, 2 days ago, he said, okay, take.
Sorry, can I bet. Do you want to tell me you were struggling with it for 2 months?
Yeah.
And just one thing.
Yeah, so actually it's been a while that we've, so the backstory is my son's getting married in April, and we still have not decided on the venue. So we've been going back and forth for the past 2 months. And by using Gareth's method, in a flip of a second, he just agreed. So actually, yes, it's just about applying respect.
It works.
But girls, ladies, never ever tell your man your technique, okay? Because then it won't work anymore. So anyway, any more questions from the floor? From a female perspective, perhaps? Or you guys just...
They want lunch.
Yeah. Okay. So, with that, on behalf of Mira and the rest of our YTL Learning Academy team and YTL Construction, thank you so much for the rest of the YTL family for attending this talk with us. We have, in appreciation of your attendance, prepared a lovely lunch outside at the coffee house. So please feel free, if you need to go back to the office, you can take it and tapao lah, take it and go with you. Okay. But if you want to stay behind and have more chats with us, feel free to stay back. We'll be here until probably about 2:30. Yes, Karen. Oh, so would you like to do a little promo for Saturday, or perhaps Datuk Sumin?
Okay, so let me. Okay, yeah. Where's Shren? No, don't ask Jean. That's not fair. Shren. Okay, all right. What I'm doing on Saturday, so you see what I did already. I'm taking it a lot further. So in the morning, I'm going through the biology, then I'm going through some scenarios like you saw then, but some more. In the afternoon, I'm doing some scenarios with Q&A, so like a workshop approach. So the morning is teaching. Obviously, the Q&A is okay through the session. So the first session is the biology, what you heard, but I'm going to a lot more detail. The second session is the scenarios that I showed you there, but a lot more detail. That's till lunch. After lunch, I'm going through scenarios. So typical scenarios in a relationship, especially in a marriage, the things that you have to deal with, and then I show this is what the male is thinking, this is what the female is thinking in that situation. And then I go through, okay, now you know, does it change your perspective? And how can you apply that? So I've got 4 different scenarios, including, and I'm still debating whether I do the final one, but the one which is a dinner table discussion between a husband and a wife. That one's actually quite good fun. Go on. Lai. Sorry? No, she said what event? Okay, so it's a workshop. It's basically this plus. No, this is, yeah, still the speaker. But it's a much more extended version of this, plus workshop, plus scenarios, plus a lot more detail.
I find it very useful. So for our colleagues and my dear extended family, I wanted them to join. They are available on Saturday.
I guarantee it's worth it. Personally.
Just put a fee there so that when people register, they're serious about it.
Thank you, Dr. Sumin. And perhaps if there's anybody who wishes to register for Saturday, you can always meet us during lunch, and we'll be happy to coordinate this for you. All right? Okay, so Gareth, are we okay with everything now?
My wife's saying I didn't address his question.
Are you happy with the question, with the answer, Luis?
I'm fine. I understand what you said, right? No, but it's not that you cannot address. I think really you can't, because I cannot imagine why just only so few people here.
I'm sad.
And end of it, I think it's really, you said it's not much interested in really. Maybe what you should do is to change the title of your, when you talk about understanding what you say just before, the relationship, right? So you say we don't want to listen about relationship, so maybe change that, then people will come and you put another name.
That's why I talked about the brain. In my original title, I put about the brain.
Yeah, make it a bit more scientific, no so emotional, so then more guys will come.
I'm sticking with my title.
You changed the title.
Yeah, there was a miscommunication in the title, but the one that we have this afternoon that we displayed is in line with his original title. Yeah.
But I agree with you. When you put relationships, people get a bit shaky. But if I talk about the brain and how how the brain is structured and the wiring and what happens, that gets more male attention. Because it's not about relationship, it's saying, how does the brain affect you? So, yeah, I agree. But that's, as I said, why I changed the teaching to focus on the brain and everything. Something I talk about the vagus nerve. Do you know what the vagus nerve is? Okay. So females on their faces have 50% more nerve endings, okay, on their face. So if you touch a man here and you touch a female here, significant difference. So in a relationship, assuming this is marriage or romantic relationship and so on, if you do this to a female, I'm watching smiles go all the way back. So you do that because their face is far more sensitive, and it's a romantic because you're looking straight into the eyes. It's like, no, he's getting very uncomfortable. So what happens is when you do that, they go, because they've got more nerve endings here. The other one is here. So when you want to calm them down, just put your hand very gently there. It's not inappropriate, just gently. The vagus nerve is far closest to the surface. And what happens is that sends a signal up here, which brings them down and relaxes them. Serotonin gets released like that. They feel better.
That's for the women to the men or men to the women?
Men to the woman. So if you're in an argument, the thing...
Woman to the men, woman to the men.
No impact.
Tell us where we should appropriately touch.
Here. That's what I kept saying to you. You want to connect with them here. All right? As I said to you on the phone, in the full version, I have a lot more detail, but it's not appropriate here. Yes? So I can get into real detail because I've researched that too, but not appropriate. Does that help a bit? Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Louis, for your, very mind-blowing question. But yeah.
Very scared when I went. No, because I know it was not going to work. I was not going to feel anything.
All right, then I hope this worked out your appetite. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again, Gareth, for your time. And thank you, Teresa, also for gracing us with your attendance. Ladies and gentlemen, lunch is served. Please enjoy your lunch and have a pleasant day ahead. Thank you.
Good.